Melanie even sent me photos unprompted, called me to chat about Tyler's reading progress. David seemed lighter, less tense, but something under it all didn't feel right. Every credit card statement that came felt heavier than the last. $5,847, 92, $7,329, 15, $8,456, 23. I saw the patterns: clothes, spa visits, designer brands, electronics, weekend retreats, sometimes all within the same week. None of it involved Tyler. None of it looked like an emergency. I paid them all. Each month I told myself, don't rock the boat, you're finally part of their world again, don't risk losing it. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't support, this was enabling. Harold would have stopped it immediately. He would have called it what it was. Barbara, you're being taken advantage of. And he would have been right, but Harold wasn't here. And I was afraid that if I questioned it, they'd pull away, not just David, but Tyler. One crisp afternoon, as golden leaves danced outside my kitchen window, David called, "Mom, are you busy right now?" "Of course not, is everything okay?" "Yeah, I need to stop by. Can we talk?" 20 minutes later, he arrived. His face looked tired, older, worn. We sat in the living room. "Tyler's doing great," he said. "His teacher says he's reading above grade level." "He's always been sharp," I smiled. Then came the shift in his tone. "Mom, I wanted to talk about the card." And there it was. "We really appreciate what you've done," he continued. "But having the card connected to your account, it makes us feel like you're watching over everything." I blinked. "David, I haven't said a word about the charges." "Exactly," he nodded. "And that's kind of the problem. It's awkward. Mel feels like she has to explain everything. She hasn't explained anything." He leaned forward. "What if, instead of the card, you just gave us a fixed monthly amount? Say $10,000. 10,000 per month." My mind went still, then burned with disbelief. That was more than she'd even been spending. "David," I asked slowly, "are you asking for $10,000 a month indefinitely?" "Not like that," he said quickly. "Think of it as investing in the family, in Tyler's future." He said Melanie could stay home longer. He said it would reduce pressure. He said it would give them freedom. But I heard something else. Control, no accountability, no transparency, just a blank check. And the unspoken truth behind his words: "If you want to stay close to us, this is the cost." I told him I'd think about it, but deep down, I already knew. I had crossed a line the day I gave them that card. And now, they weren't asking for help anymore. They were demanding it. That night, I sat in the dark. Just me, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, and Harold's photo on the mantel. $10,000 a month, not a loan, not a one-time ask, a new expectation. And I knew if I said yes once, it would never stop. The next morning, I called my financial advisor. Martin had worked with Harold for years. "Barbara," he said, "you're still in excellent financial shape, but that kind of monthly gift, it would erode your security faster than you realize." "Even if I can afford it," I told him, "something feels wrong." "Then it probably is," he replied quietly. "It's not a gift if it's required. That's something else entirely." After I hung up, I called David. "I've thought about your proposal," I said, "and I can't agree to it." A long silence. "Instead, I'm willing to cover specific expenses for Tyler, his schooling, medical care, enrichment programs. But not a blank monthly check, and not the credit card. I'll need that back." He was stunned. "Mom, Mel already planned things, assuming we'd have that resource." "Then she shouldn't have planned around money that wasn't hers," I said gently. "It's not about control, David. It's about boundaries." His voice changed, colder, sharper. "Mel feels like you've been judging her all along. This just confirms it." And then came the words I had feared most. "If you do this, Mom, you might not see Tyler as much anymore. It'll be like before, holidays, birthdays, that's it." A quiet threat from my son, the boy I raised to be kind, responsible, fair. And now he was cornering me with my grandson's smile. I didn't reply, just breathed, in, out, and stood firm. That evening, Melanie showed up. Alone, no warning, just the doorbell, and that smile. Tight, Controlled, dangerous. We need to talk, she said, brushing past me. She walked into my living room like she owned it, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood. Cashmere sweater, designer handbag, and a look in her eyes that made the air feel cold. Do you have any idea what you've done? I didn't answer. That card was part of our family structure. We made commitments based on it. The card was for Tyler's needs, I said quietly. She laughed, sharp, bitter. You think a spa day isn't about parenting? My wellness affects Tyler's well-being. Self-care is responsible motherhood. And the clothes, the dinners. I represent this family, she said. We live in a community of high expectations. I need to look the part. Her eyes drifted to my cardigan, my plain slacks. She didn't say the words. She didn't need to. So the $10,000 a month, that's for Tyler too. Yes, she said without blinking. Everything we do is for him. Then her tone changed. Cold, surgical. You're sitting on more money than you'll ever spend. Meanwhile, your grandson could be thriving with it right now, but instead, you hoard it. You control it. I felt my body stiffen. I offered to pay for his future, his college, his needs. That's not help, she said. That's control. She moved to the door. So here's your choice, Barbara. Either you trust us with no strings, or you go back to being a holiday grandma. I watched her leave. No goodbyes, no thank you. Just the lingering scent of her perfume. And the weight of the ultimatum. The next morning, I called my bank. I'd like to cancel the credit card, issue a new one. Would you like any authorized users on the new card? No, I said, just me. Then I did something else, something Harold would have nodded at. I opened a custodial account for Tyler, under my control, for education, medical, life essentials, available when he turns 18. No one else can touch it. Later that day, I called David. The card has been canceled, I told him. But I've set up something else, a future for Tyler, and I'll still support his real needs, directly, not through a monthly allowance. He didn't say much at first, then coldly, so that's it. After all we've built these last few months, you're just pulling back. I'm not pulling back, I said. I'm protecting the only thing left I can control, my boundaries. He sighed, then maybe we all need space. A space. That's what he called it, but what he meant was distance. Separation. Punishment. That night I wrote a letter to Tyler, told him I loved him, that none of this was his fault, that he would always be my sunshine, even from far away. I sealed it, unsure if he'd ever read it. But one thing was clear. Love without limits doesn't mean love without lines. And if I had to lose their affection to keep my integrity, so be it. 3 weeks passed, 3 weeks of silence. No Wednesday school pickups, no Sunday dinners, no photos, no FaceTimes, only a single message. Tyler's Thanksgiving pageant has been canceled due to flu outbreak. No invite to Thanksgiving, no call, no warmth. I told myself they were spending it at Melanie's parents', pretended it did ache. I made a sweet potato casserole for a book club gathering instead. Ironed a quoit, Margaret's sister's house, not family, but not alone. Then the night before Thanksgiving, my phone rang. My heart nearly stopped. I picked up. Grandma. His tiny voice cut through the quiet like sunlight after storm. Guess what? My tooth fell out, the one I showed you last time. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I could barely breathe. He showed me the gap with pride. Told me the tooth fairy gave him $5. We laughed. We shared that 5-year-old joy. Then he whispered, Are you mad at us, Grandma? Daddy said you need space. I blinked away tears. No, sweet boy, I'm not mad. I love you always. When are you coming over again? How do you tell a child that you're being kept at arm's length? That love is now rationed through conflict. Before I could respond, I heard her voice. Tyler, who are you talking to? It's Grandma. I'm showing her my tooth. Melanie appeared on screen, perfectly composed, frost in her voice. Tyler, you know the rules. No calling without permission. She looked at me directly. Barbara, I didn't realize he was calling you. He called me. I didn't initiate anything. Even so, she said sharply, we've been trying to give him space from this situation. He's 5, Melanie. He doesn't even understand there is a situation. She paused, then said quietly, Please don't encourage him to call without checking with us first. She ended the call before I could respond. I stood in my kitchen, casserole forgotten, tears falling freely for the first time. Was standing up for myself worth this? Missing Tyler's smile, hearing "I love you" only through chance. What if this was permanent? I picked up my phone, hovered over David's contact. One call, one apology, and everything could go back to normal. But what then? How many more silent sacrifices? How many more boundaries crossed? Where would it end? I put the phone down, and instead, I wrote a letter to Tyler. Simple words, about love, about being proud of him, about how none of this was his fault. I sealed it, knowing they might never give it to him, but it wasn't for them. It was for me. My phone buzzed, unknown number. A message. "Barbara, this is George Henderson, Melanie's father. We need to talk. Can you meet me at Highland Park Diner at 9 a.m.? It's about David and Melanie. You'll want to hear this." George, the retired surgeon. The man who barely said more than 5 words to me at any gathering. What could he possibly have to say? I replied, "I'll be there." George was already seated, coffee in hand. Polished, impeccable, he nodded as I approached. "Thank you for coming. I won't waste time." "I know about the card." I froze. "Melanie told you." "No, I found out when I helped them refinance the house. They're in massive debt, Barbara. Credit cards, loans, a second mortgage." I swallowed hard. They never said a word. They wouldn't. Diane and I already bylaid them out twice. This time we said no. That's when they turned to you. He leaned forward. "They're using you, and it has to stop." His bluntness stunned me. "I've arranged for a financial counselor, someone who works with families like this. If they agree to it, Diane and I will help with their debt again. But they need consequences, real ones." "What do you want from me?" I asked. He slid a business card across the table. "If they threaten your access to Tyler again, call this attorney. I'll back you in seeking grandparent visitation rights." My hands trembled. "You do that?" "Yes, because Tyler deserves his grandmother. And because someone in this family needs to draw the line." 3 days later, David called, his voice softer. "Warren, Dad told me you two spoke." "We did. We're going to try the counselor," he said. "Mel and we talked, a lot." "That's good. And we want you to come for Christmas. No strings." I exhaled, a weight lifted slightly. "I'd love that." Then he added, "Also, Tyler's been asking about dinosaurs again. Would you take him to the exhibit this weekend? Just you and him." Tears welled in my eyes. Nothing would make me happier. No, it wasn't over. The pain, the fractures, the trust to rebuild. But for now, a step had been taken. And sometimes, healing doesn't begin with a grand gesture. I spent 3 full days baking that cake. 3 days, my hands now shaky at 72, struggling with the piping bag like a novice. But I was determined. It was Tyler's 5th birthday. My grandson, my light. I had practiced the rosettes every morning, studied fondant tutorials, and even memorized the names of his favorite dinosaurs. I wanted this cake to be perfect. My son David said his wife, Melanie, wanted to order from some high-end bakery downtown, but I insisted. "Let me do this one." I've been baking birthday cakes since before David could walk. On the morning of the party, I carefully placed the 2-tiered dinosaur cake in the backseat of my old Buick. It was unusually warm for spring in Rochester, and I prayed the buttercream would hold. I had woken at 5 a.m., adding the last fondant touches. Little ankylosaurus tails, tyrannosaurus teeth, all just the way Tyler loved. I arrived an hour early, like always. David greeted me with a rushed hug. "Mom, you're here, great." Mel's still dealing with the rental company. Wrong chairs. He looked flustered, barely glancing at the cake in my hands. "Where should I put this?" I asked, arms starting to ache. The kitchen island, I guess." Their home was modern. All glass and metal. It never felt warm, not to me, but David loved it. As I walked through the sterile living room and placed the cake gently on the marble counter, I saw it. A large, white bakery box. "David, what's this?" He rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my gaze. "Mel ordered a backup, just in case." Just in case, mine wasn't good enough. That stung more than I let on. 2 cakes are better than 1, right? I forced a smile. Before he could respond, the glass door slid open and Melanie walked in, perfect as ever. Cream-colored linen dress. Hair in a ponytail that didn't dare fray, she was yelling into her phone. "No," I said, "white chairs, not beige. Fix it. This is my son's birthday." She waved at me mid-call without breaking her sentence. I stood there, suddenly feeling like a shadow, a relic. "Barbara, you're early," she finally said after ending the call. I wanted to help set up, and I had to get the cake in before it got too warm. Her eyes darted from my cake to the bakery box. "Oh, you actually made it." "Of course, I told David I would." She smiled tightly. "It's very homemade, sweet. We'll place it on the dessert table with the cake pops and cupcakes. And that one," I nodded toward the bakery box. "That's the main cake, for the cutting, for photos. It has a 3D T-Rex coming out of it, you'll see. It's stunning." My heart sank. I made mine for that moment. 2 tears, for Tyler to blow out the candles, but it wasn't good enough. "Barbara, I appreciate the effort. Really. But this party is a big deal. We invited all of Tyler's preschool. My cake, it just fits better." David tried to step in. "Mom, we'll use both. Your cake looks amazing." I looked him in the eyes. Which one is he blowing the candles on? Silence. I turned away, holding back the tears. Pain in my knees from hours of baking, hours of standing. And now this, I escaped into the backyard. Dinosaur bounce house, themed decorations. A perfect prehistoric world. Every corner coordinated. I busied myself arranging plates and favors. Melanie's parents arrived in style, air kisses, custom-wrapped gifts. They always looked down on my modest apartment. "You're still living downtown. Oh, Barbara, you should look into senior communities, very active lifestyle." I smiled politely. The yard filled with laughter, shrieks, and the buzz of overdone celebration. I poured lemonade at the drinks table. Small talk, background noise, then Tyler arrived. He ran straight toward me. "Grandma, dinosaurs, did you see?" "I sure did, and guess what? I made you a special cake. With the Ankylosaurus, your favorite." "Can I see it?" "It's a surprise. We'll wait for cake time." He grinned, then ran off. For a moment, just that moment, it was worth everything. The bakery cake was on a raised stand, towering, grand, mine shoved aside to a corner table. Melanie called everyone in. Tyler was lifted onto a chair. "Where's Grandma's cake?" he asked. The room stilled. Melanie smiled tight. "We're using this one for pictures, honey. Grandma's cake is for eating later." "But I want Grandma's cake. The one with the Ankylosaurus." A flicker of irritation passed over her perfect face. "Tyler, we already set everything up for this one." "No," he shouted. "I want Grandma's cake." The room fell silent again. David looked helpless. "It's okay," I said gently, stepping forward. "We can use both." "Barbara," Melanie said through gritted teeth, "we already have the setup." "But Tyler wants." "We can't give him everything he wants. That's called parenting." The words sliced through the room. Eyes turned to me. I felt small, unwanted, useless. That day changed everything. I didn't know it yet. But the fracture in our family had just begun to widen. And this was only the beginning. That night, the drive back home felt longer than usual. 20 minutes stretched like an hour. Rochester's streets passed me in a blur, empty, quiet, too quiet. Half of the cake still sat untouched on the dessert table when I left. I didn't bother taking it home. What would be the point? I pulled into my parking spot outside the old apartment near Highland Park. The one I moved into after Harold passed. 3 years, 3 cold winters without him. 47 years of marriage ended in one breathless snowfall, one shovel in his hand, one silence that never ended. The apartment felt too big some days, too small on others. I chose it to be close to David and Tyler. I thought I'd be seeing them often. I thought I mattered. That night, I sat in Harold's old armchair, the one with the worn corners and the comforting creak. My phone buzzed. It was a message from David. "Sorry about today, Mom. Tyler loved your cake. He's already asking when you'll visit next." At least, Tyler still wanted me around. I smiled weakly and replied something brief, polite, motherly. Then I turned off the phone and sat there in silence, the kind of silence you feel in your chest. On the side table, a stack of financial papers waited for my attention. Bank statements, investment letters, retirement summaries, all neatly organized, Harold's legacy. He was always meticulous. 30 years at the bank, he taught me how to read every number, how to make every dollar grow. Thanks to him, I had more than enough. A pension, investment income, security. Security I never flaunted. Security I quietly used to offer support, without being asked. The next day, David called. "Hi, Mom, you got home okay?" "Yes, I'm fine, don't worry." "About yesterday, Mel feels bad. She didn't mean to come off cold." "It's fine, David, really." "But it wasn't fine. There's something else," he said, "something awkward." And I knew, the tension in his voice. The long pause before the question. "Would you consider adding Mel to one of your credit cards?" I was silent. "Not for anything major," he added quickly. "Just emergencies for Tyler's needs, stuff like that." Emergencies, Melanie's emergencies, designer shoes and sushi nights? Still, I said I'd think about it. That night, I stared at the ceiling and thought of Tyler's smile. The way he clung to my legs, shouted "Grandma." With such joy, what if this helped? What if being generous meant being needed? What if being needed meant being included? The next morning, I called my bank. "Yes, I'd like to add an authorized user to my primary credit card, Melanie Henderson. Would you like to set a spending limit for her card?" I hesitated. Setting a limit would imply distrust, and I desperately didn't want more tension. "No, no limit, just the same card, please." "Of course, Mrs. Wilson. It'll be delivered in 5 to 7 business days." I called David right after. "It's done. She should receive the card by next week." "Really, Mom, thank you. This will help so much." "I'm glad to help," I said, and I meant it. In that moment, I believed this might be the bridge we needed. I believed generosity could fix the cracks. I believed wrong. 5 days later, I pulled into their driveway. No party guests, no decorations, just a regular Tuesday. Melanie opened the door. Smile, polite, practiced. "Barbara, hi. David's at work." "I know, I just came to drop this off." I held up the envelope with the credit card. Her eyes lit up for the first time, genuinely. "Oh, the card, that's wonderful. Come in, please." The kitchen was spotless like always. She was slicing vegetables in perfect rows. "Tea?" she offered. "Sure." I handed over the envelope. "The limit's generous. It should cover any emergencies, for Tyler." She nodded, barely glancing up. "It'll help. Thank you, Barbara." A pause, then surprisingly. "About the party, I hope you didn't think I was dismissing your cake." I looked at her. The apology sounded scripted. A line rehearsed for family diplomacy. "These things happen," I said, sipping the tea. She slid the card into her wallet. "Now I can finally get Tyler that Science Center membership. They have a paleontology camp this summer. It's expensive." "That sounds perfect for him," I smiled. "Exactly, and with this card, we don't have to stress about budgeting." We talked for a few more minutes. Tyler's playdates, David's work, her yoga schedule. Then she hugged me at the door. "This means more than you know. You're helping us give Tyler the best." And I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I wanted so badly to be part of the picture again, but I didn't know that I had just opened a door that would be almost impossible to close. The credit card statement arrived 4 weeks later. Just a plain envelope. No warning that it would quietly unravel every illusion I'd tried to hold onto. I opened it during my morning coffee. Same time I used to read Harold's investment reports. Only this time, it was Harold's numbers I saw. $6,283, $47. My breath caught. I scanned the charges. There it was, yes, one payment to the Rochester Children's Science Center, $250, as promised. But then came the rest. $870 at a high-end furniture store. $430 at a luxury spa. 4 separate restaurant bills, each between $60 and $200. Only a quarter of the expenses had anything to do with Tyler. The rest, Melanie's world of indulgence. I reached for my phone, then put it down again. Should I confront David? Or Melanie? Would that risk what little closeness I had rebuilt? In the last few weeks, there'd been more FaceTime calls, more photos of Tyler, even an invite to one of his playdates. Was that real warmth or payment? I told myself maybe it was just the first month. A splurge, maybe next month will be different, and I paid the bill silently. No questions, no confrontation, just the quiet beginning of a long unraveling. Summer turned to fall, leaves changed, schedules settled. 3 months in, I had a routine. I picked up Tyler from preschool every Wednesday. Sunday dinners twice a month. Sometimes a museum outing. On the surface, things looked better.